I'm Doug Mylan, Mylan Home Construction. This is another Mylan Home Construction project. This house is built in 1930, over 80 years ago, in the historic west end of Fort Worth, right in the middle of Rivercrest Country Club. There's a golf course right across the street. We have been hired to remodel this house in the first phase of about 3 phases that we're going to do. As you can imagine, this house being built over 80 years ago, there's a lot of problems that we've encountered, a lot of obstacles. Let me take you inside and show you around. This kitchen has been expanded. Like a lot of people, they want to have a large kitchen with a big island in the middle. That is truly the reason why we're here. We're here to make this kitchen where it's livable, and surrounding rooms around the kitchen to where it's livable. And we're going to work on different phases of the house, bathrooms and whatnot, as time goes on. But this is truly the reason why we're here. I don't know if you can see this, but we've got these new ceiling joists up here with engineered beams to carry the load from wall to wall. Here used to be the outer wall of the kitchen with the bathroom next to it. So the bathroom has been removed. It's going to be moved down about 20 feet away. But this was the problem. This is where the load was being bared right here, the load-bearing wall, if you will. And in order to support the ceiling and then therefore the roof, the floor above and then the roof above that, we had to put in new members to be able to carry the load from one wall to the other. We still have a gas line here that's in the way. We're going to be moving this in due time. But essentially this is the kitchen as it is now. We're going to put drywall up, tape and bed, texture, paint, and then we're going to put in cabinetry. This is going to be a finished kitchen when we're finished. As you can probably see, these are outer walls of the house. And again, 80 years ago when they built this house, they built things a little differently back then than they do today. Typically today you would build a house with a wall structure made out of 2x4s and then you brick on the outside. So the brick is not structural, it is just there for looks, keep the weather out. But in this case, the brick is structural. There are no 2x4s in this wall. So in order to meet code, we had to run our electrical down to get so many outlets in the walls, which is what modern code is, and also to put in modern wiring, Romex wire as opposed to the old knob and tube wire, which is what we encountered here. But in order to get it there, we had to do this. As you can see, we've got concrete covering brick. The only way to get the wire to run is through conduit to protect the wire, but also to chisel that out and then cover it back over. So it's another one of these issues we're dealing with an 80-year-old house. Folks, this is an example of old school, and I mean really old school, wiring. This is what we found in this 80-year-old house, knob and tube wiring, and we can have a whole segment based on wiring types and all of that. The reason why this is a hazard is because it's made out of rubber that is coming apart, wrapped in fabric. So, you know, you've heard the thing about electrical fires. This is how electrical fires start, because rubber can burn and the fiber on these wires can burn also. So this is what we're taking out of this house, and we're replacing it with modern style wiring like this so that it's safe and meets current code. As you can see in the floor, we've had to tear out this entire floor because of the ceiling joists downstairs in the kitchen that had to be repaired and or replaced. We weren't planning on this. This is one of the things that we encounter with an 80-year-old house sometimes. What we ended up having to do here is take out all this floor just because it was 4 inches of concrete and we couldn't get our floor joists put in and replaced because of the concrete that was in the way. So all this had to come out. As you can see on the wall here, we are having to run new plumbing up through the wall, which is a vent stack. All plumbing has to be vented. Without a vent, it cannot drain. So we had to run a vent stack, new vent stack up here. You can see cast iron right now. That's going to be replaced with PVC to make the more modern plumbing. But we've had to demo all this wall right here, and as you can see, I haven't been demoing. It's been Juan here demoing. But we have to demo that in order to get all the plumbing run, all the water lines replaced up here, everything through the floor, and then up through the sidewall. Here's another issue that we're encountering with this 80-year-old house. A lot of houses up through the 1950s and 60s, they were allowed to have wall heaters, and they were gas heaters. They do burn off gas and let carbon monoxide into the house, which is not such a big deal, even though that's not really healthy. It's a fire hazard, and so these have been outlawed quite a bit ago. But what we have to do is we have to take these out of the wall and then cap off the gas lines to them to meet code. That's a requirement on every one of these older houses. So in this case, we're going to have to take this out, cap off the gas line, and then have the gas line pressure tested to have it reapproved by the city. And once we get a green tag, then the gas can be turned back on into the house. And we have to cap or cover up the wall after these are taken out. Where I'm standing used to be an elevator. Believe it or not, there was an elevator in this house. The door to the elevator was right here. This is the second floor, and the elevator, as you can, I don't know if you can see this, but it actually was braced on these joists, these ceiling joists up here. We've had to take this elevator completely out because the new owner of this house wanted to reclaim this spot over here because the elevator takes up a lot of room. Didn't need it, didn't want it, so we took it out. But as you can see, we've actually discovered there are new windows here that we didn't know was here. This window and then these two. And this window here was actually covered up by a shelf that was right over there now. But all of these windows are reclaimed, so he's really happy about that. And as you probably know, what really makes a contractor is not the plans that are in his hands, it's the tape measure that's on his belt. As you can see over here, the gap on this side of the cabinets is wider than the gap over on the other side of the cabinets, which is the problem we're having, is the ceiling is not running true with the cabinets. The cabinets have to be put in level and plumb, whereas the cabinets, we have a gap at the top where it meets the ceiling. So we're going to have to put additional trim just to follow the ceiling to finish it out. Here we are again in the kitchen of this beautiful house in West Fort Worth. What we're doing here is we're actually taking out a wall and expanding the size of the kitchen into what used to be a bathroom here on the left-hand side. But what we found is that we had a problem with the windows. These two windows, this one here and this one here, were right next to each other, whereas this window was off to the side in the bathroom. What we wanted to create was actually having three windows together where the two windows on the sides are the same size, but the window in the middle is wider than the other two to give it a balance. Now, in order to achieve that, we had to take this window, which was actually much smaller, and disassemble it and then recreate pieces to look like the others to make it look like an old window and function like an old window, which is what we have here now. So in order to get this in here, we had to actually take out brick in this outer wall, which we found it's 8 inches of brick that had no 2x4 studs in it. So the structure and the weight-bearing nature of it was just the brick itself. So we're trying to figure out how in the world do we take out brick and then at the same time support what's above, because the brick is supporting the second floor, which is supporting the roof above that. So what we ended up having to do, I had to call my engineer, the structural engineer. His name is Ian Ray with Evergreen Structures in Dallas. Great guy. If you ever need a structural engineer, I'd highly recommend him. But he gave me some advice on how we support the brick above, at the same time creating an open hole below so that we can get these windows put in and well supported with the lintels above the windows to support that brick, and then get it all put back together without the brick falling in and then of course the house falling in at the same time. So convoluted, difficult process I should say, in getting this done, but we were able to accomplish it and we're real happy with the end result.
So I remember when we came and visited that first time, Doug, this was a hole in the ground here. It was obviously an add-on to the house and at some point in time in the home's life. And it was slanted, I don't know how many inches to the other end, and obviously had to go in and get it level. It looks great, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's a lot of work. We realized that the floor was not level, and that it actually sloped from here to there about 3.5 inches off the level. And one of the things we were really trying to do is to get more ceiling height in here. We couldn't go up because there's a second floor above, but we could go down. And so in order to both level the floor and get more ceiling height, we actually lowered the entire floor about 8 inches. It's 8 inches over here, and it's about 4.5, 5 inches over there. A lot of work, turned out really well, very proud of it. It's a beautiful room, and I think the customers will be very happy with it.
Tell me about these floor vents. Do you buy those down at your normal Home Depot or what? I mean, they match the floor beautifully.
Well, thank you. This was something that we did sort of at the last minute. The flooring guy was here getting ready to start sanding, and then the customer came in and said, how about putting these in the floor? And I said, great, I think it looked good. So we actually had to cut in place where these would set down into the floor and do that prior to the sanding and finishing of the wood floors.
It looks good. I haven't seen a home with where you actually have a wood grate down in the floor with the wood flooring. That came out well.
Well, it's great because you can put furniture over it, you can walk across it. It's not a trip hazard. It's something that I think looks good and performs well, but it's also the same height as the surrounding floor. So I think it's going to be really easy to walk across and not have to worry about tripping over.
Okay. Nice job. I'm sure the homeowner is loving it.
Well, thanks.
All right. Good to see you today, Dave.
Well, what we have here is what I like to call a floating media cabinet. This is their living room, and all of the components for their sound system and TV all go inside this cabinet where it's out of view. We have all the HDMI cabling going into the wall, which is going to be behind the TV. You have to imagine there's a TV in the middle here. Everything goes in the wall and into the media cabinet and disperses within the cabinet from there. But we have all the speakers running around the TV. We've got a center speaker and the right and left speaker. We've got a subwoofer in the wall. All of the speaker wires run internally in the wall. As a matter of fact, we've got rear speakers running through the ceilings behind here. All of the speaker wire runs up the wall and then through the ceiling joists to these other speakers here. It's a really cool cabinet. It's not something we do every day, but I'm real proud of it. I think it's going to work well.
Doug, I remember our first meeting over here with you when this was just a hole. There was nothing but 2x4 showing, and this has really turned out to be a beautiful kitchen, well laid out. Nice job.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. We're very proud of it. It's been a complicated job from the beginning, you know, given the age of the house and the fact that it's a two-story house with a basement below, which right below us, when we blow out a wall that was right here and change the load to this outer wall over here and then to this wall over here, I mean, whatever was below that in the basement had to be reinforced too. So it was a difficult job from the very beginning, but you know, we were very proud of it.
Yeah, I remember when we came over here, you had already put up the new load-bearing rafters up here from when you moved that wall, so that looks good. What kind of wood did you have here? These cabinets the wood on the cabinets are beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a natural stain on sap walnut, and they don't make sap walnut in regular trim boards like what you'd be used to finding. We actually had to mill those down, and we couldn't find plywood even. All the doors were solid wood, pieces that are glued together. It's a very natural look. It's beautiful though. I like it, and the homeowner really likes it.
Yeah, they're going to love this island that you put in here, this nice little area here for a little breakfast bar down at this end, and then all your utility drawers around here. That's
yeah,
nice.
And actually this is something that is something we hadn't done before. That's called a waterfall edge, where it goes down and it turns down to the floor. And that was an experience to put in and have it look right and function well.
It's
good.
This is granite, right?
No, this is actually a silestone material. It's a manufactured stone.
Okay.
It's got pieces of glass in it.
Yeah.
And you can see that, especially in the reflection of the light.
Yeah, and on the edges of it, you can see where it has clear pieces on the edge of it.
Right, yeah, it's
nice.
translucent on
Right.
some parts of it, yeah, and it gives it kind of a unique look.
And then a massive gas range here. This is the nice touch to the kitchen. But
yeah,
chef will love this.
Yeah. For those that cook, I think there's nothing better than this. It's gas cooktop, but it's got electric actual oven. Two ovens, yeah. But gas cooktop, and because it's gas, it needed to be vented to the outside. And this right here was something that was a little bit of a complication because, as you remember, all the plumbing from upstairs went right through this wall.
Right.
So,
or actually, it went through this wall, didn't it?
Well, yeah, it went through this wall, and now it goes through this wall.
Yeah, okay.
We had to build in a false wall just for the plumbing to go down, and then also straighten up this wall because it actually doglegged a little bit this way initially. Ideally, we would have loved to just have our vent go into the wall and then out through the side and then to the outside. But we couldn't do that because there's just too much plumbing, water lines, sewer lines in that wall. And not to mention electric wiring stuff. So what we had to do is we had to go straight in and then straight down into the basement. And then when we cleared everything, go out through the basement.
Like you say, when you get into an old house like this, you run into a lot of complications. I see right behind you that the window configuration has changed. This has the original windows from the house that are single pane, yet that one in the middle is not the way that it was lined up before originally.
That's correct.
How did you do that?
Well, we actually disassembled an existing window that used to be right over here that was part of the bathroom that was here. And we took the parts that we could use and then recreated other parts to make it wider, and then had glass panes special made to fit into the new size. And it had to be something that would go exactly in between the two satellite windows. So the tolerance was really very tight. And as you can see, in between these areas right here between the windows, the old weights and rope that would help take the tension off the weight of the window had to pass in there, and it was pretty tight tolerance, but it works.
So you can't buy single pane wood windows anymore to match a house that is built in 1940. You had to actually custom make the
Actually built in 1930, but
1930.
yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. You can't find windows like this anymore, and that was one of the things that we were trying to do, was to recreate a little bit of the past and make it look like it's always been here. And that's what our goal has been from the very beginning, and I think we accomplished that.
Absolutely.